This is a step-by-step tutorial on how to install lowering springs in your Mazda 3. Today we're going to be eliminating this atrocious wheel gap in my dad's Mazda 3. Yes, we're going to dump my dad's Mazda 3 sedan on some lowering springs. We decided to go with a set of H&R lowering springs. We're not doing replacement struts or shocks, we're just going to be doing these springs today, and I'm going to show you each little detail on how to get these out and in torque specs as we go along the way and put it all back together. This install will actually work on the first generation Mazda 3s as well, so this will work on 04 to 13. So without further ado, let's get started on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the car in. We're gonna start on the back end of it. That's just kind of normally where I start on these. And once we're done the back, then we'll go ahead and do the front. Oh, they just straight up send you an American flag sticker. You guys have the front set of the H&R springs and the skinnier set which go in the rear. This is a brand new kit, untouched and unused, so there will be some settling in, which means essentially what you guys see today won't actually won't be the actual final sitting result. Like, the car will go lower after we break these in. If you guys buy a set of used springs, then they're probably already going to be settled in, but we're going to see this car kind of go a little bit lower over the break-in period of these springs. So this is what the car looks like underneath from the back. All we need to do here is remove the end links from the stabilizer bar on both sides, and then once that's done, all you have to do is remove the knuckle to the control arm, and then the spring just comes out. The OEM hardware also uses a Allen head in order for that nut to spin off, so you're going to need some Allen heads as well, unless you're really lucky and for some reason that nut just comes flying off. It is always also smart to put some penetrating fluid on these, as these do rust out. So what I recommend doing is grabbing a 14 wrench and then double wrench with a 15 or 15 on the end, and it should crack really nice. When I spin this, that thread spins as well, which means I need to put the Allen key in there. Always make sure you're spinning it the right way. Now I'm going to take my ratcheting wrench, get on there, take that top nut off. So now that we've done this one, we have to do the other side in order to get this out. I mean, at the end of the day you don't, but it is one less tool. You can use a pry bar to get it out, you just need to push the sway bar down. In case you guys don't have that, we're just gonna go ahead and do the other one, just so this whole thing will move down. Pop them out, just like that. So you're gonna need a jack for this part. Go ahead, jack, underneath right here. You're gonna wanna make sure you get a lot of that in there, just enough for support. Bring it up just a little bit so that bolt comes out easier. Then we're gonna hit this, that's a 17. Bring this down a little bit, that's gonna do that. Your old spring is out, let's go ahead and do the other side real quick. Here you have your two old springs. So this side is gonna be up top, this side's gonna be at the bottom. I'll show you guys how to put that into the spring perch. We're gonna have to take these top hats off the old ones. Grooves in here that you can go ahead and squish it onto. And just like that, she's good to go. So if you look inside the perch, there's gonna be somewhere for the spring to hook. I believe it's over in that corner. This is where that's gonna hook. You need to make sure that it hooks in place so that it sits flat and level. This side's gonna be a lot easier to put into place. Again, find that part where it's gonna hook into. So right here, you bring that spring up. Now put your jack underneath and start jacking up. You may need a pry bar at this point. Essentially this needs to slide in there. Bring it up slowly. Make sure that spring's seated. So when it comes up, there's the bump stop thing I like to call right here. And you can move it around. So I'm bringing it up a bit more. Kind of wiggle it around. I can kind of move it around with my hand as well. Stick the bolt through. We're gonna go ahead and put our end links back in. Make sure that you do obviously both sides at the same time. Go ahead and tighten these down. You're gonna wanna torque your end link nuts to 40 to 43 foot-pounds. I just double wrench these on from experience. If these do come loose in the future, use some thread locker. I've heard those, that also helps as well. This rear lower control arm bolt is gonna be going to 75 foot-pound. Your rear springs are now in, fully torqued and ready to go. We're gonna put the wheels back on, drop it down, spin the car around, and do the fronts. So you're gonna wanna make sure the car is up on both sides because we might have to turn the wheel. Make sure to pop the hood because we need to access some bolts on the top. So when we look in here, we're gonna be taking out the strut, which means that we need to disconnect the brake line from the strut. We need to unplug if you have ABS. Just go ahead, unplug that, might be a little crusty. Take your time, don't break it. We have another one of those end links right here, but we only have to remove this side. Same thing with the Allen key. It's gonna take a little bracket off here. Your end link's gonna pop out. Then there's a knuckle. This part's always fine. Up top, you have 3 bolts. And then we're also gonna loosen the top hat while we're in here. Before starting, it's always good to spray lubricant everywhere. So we're gonna take this brake line off first. You're gonna want something that you can grab with. This can be a little pesky at times. Just gonna wanna grab the end of it. And just start by wiggling it around. Oh, there we go. And you just pop that under, move that over. Like I said, make sure you've already removed this, and then we can go ahead and take that end link out. Same thing on that other side. This side's a little trickier because you have a little bit less room. I am going to cheat by breaking it with the impact. And sometimes you can get lucky where it actually just comes off with an impact and you don't need to use wrenches or anything. This bracket just comes right off, leave that off to the side. Sometimes you can get the end link out just like that. These are gonna have to get replaced. These are moving way too easily. They really shouldn't just fall like that by themselves. So if they're doing something like that, if you can move these around like this, like a joystick, probably should replace those. So I know these are done, pretty much. Now all we have left is to get the strut out of the knuckle and then deal with the top hat. The top hat can be a pain in the ass to get off when you're dealing with the springs when you have it outside of the car. So I'm gonna take advantage while it's inside of the car and nothing can spin by hitting it with the impact, getting the threads up a little bit so I can take this off when it's outside of the car. You guys will see right here the end of the bolt on the other side. There's a 17-inch bolt that goes right through. Go ahead, take that out. This has never been taken out before. That is an incredibly, very, very rusty bolt. We can go ahead and basically bash this out of here. People come up with different ways to do this. You can use a strut spreader tool. You can use a pry bar, get in there. Really, I just do this with a hammer and I hit right on the knuckle and it goes and just pops it right out. It's gonna take a little while, but take your time, hit it good, and it'll come out surely sometime. And now we are out of the knuckle. A lot easier than it looks. There are 3 14mm heads that you're gonna take out here. Now when you do take these out, make sure you're holding the strut from underneath because it will fall out. Quite literally just fall right out. Here is the OEM strut and spring. We are going to be literally reusing this entire thing except the spring itself. Do I think it's a good idea to do it without a spring compressor? Probably not. Now when you're taking these apart, be very careful. There's a bearing inside this top hat. It'll like quite literally blow up. You can't actually test these. The shock's blown, very blown. So maybe order some new shocks. So here we have our new spring. And just like the rear, when you put these on, you're gonna spin them around and boom, they're gonna lock into place kind of like right there. Again, line up the top hat so that it sits nice on there, and then we can go ahead, push down on it. There you go. Lowering springs are ready to go. So like I was showing you with the top hat thing, obviously the spring isn't, you know, smooth all the way around, so you just want to make sure that it sits, cups nicely with the spring. So what we're gonna go ahead and do, when you look at the top hat, there's gonna be like a little notch right here, and it's in the shape of a triangle with definitely a point. It's rounded, straight, straight. This corner, the straight part, is gonna be facing towards us. So it's gonna go in exactly like this. Is hold this by the spring, bring the strut up, find your holes, and then start threading in. Once those are threaded in, you'll pretty much be good to go in that sense. So make sure that you have the right strut in. You can tell obviously by which side this, the brake line holder is gonna be on. So this is gonna be on the left side. These are dependent on which side they go on. Now we need to put this back into here. On the back of the strut, there is, I like to call a spine. Basically, there's a notch out of your knuckle right here that it has to go into. It's a lot easier than it looks. Let me go ahead and start jacking it up, and we can start lining everything up here. Before it goes in all the way, you can kind of spin it. If it's gonna go in, I can tell that is gonna go in. Now as you guys are jacking up, give it some wiggles. Tighten up your top hats a bit too. So now a little hack you can do is you can grab a pry bar, and in behind there, like where that slit is, you can get in there with a pry bar. Don't catch your fingers. You can pry that knuckle apart, kind of like what that knuckle spreader would do that I was talking about. Kind of wiggle it around, and it kind of goes in. We're gonna go up a bit more, give a few wiggles. Again, this pry bar is gonna be your best friend. Get in behind there, give it some pries. And a way you can tell it's in all the way is normally you can see the line. I think I have to go in just a bit more here. Take that 17mm bolt, thread it in, and there you go. Now we can start putting everything back together. Go ahead, put that in, for example. I like to give it a hit, something. So now you can run your end link back in there, plug your speed wheel sensor in. Go ahead, throw your end link nuts on. Put this back on, the 14mm. I'm gonna tighten that back up with a wrench. But as everything stands, we are done. These top hat bolts are supposed to be torqued to something. I honestly don't bother, and I just zap these down with the impact gun. Once they don't move, they don't move. Jack it up a little bit here. And you're gonna wanna torque these 3 bolts to 20 to 25 foot-pounds. I just do it by hand. If you tighten them any more than that, these will snap. This end link is gonna get torqued to 40 foot-pounds, just like the rear ones. A good tighten with the wrench. The 17mm bolt that holds the strut into the knuckle, that's gonna get torqued to 75 foot-pounds. Go ahead and let all that pressure out there. And now your front lowering springs are fully installed, torqued down, and ready to go. And here's what the car looks like after. So it looks like it's got a little bit of a rake, meaning that the rear does sit a little bit lower than the front, but the front is a stiffer spring just due to the motor and everything, so it will take a little for that to settle, but it will level out once it does settle. It should settle after a couple weeks of driving, but it does look good and everything turned out excellent. If this video helped you out any way and you're interested to see how to install more stuff on your Mazda 3, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I got a full playlist on how to install a bunch of stuff on these cars. If you guys need any help, have any questions or comments, put them down in the comments below. Other than that, that is all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much once again for watching today's video. Keep it real. I'll see y'all in the next one.